Hi guys, Wheelie here, and this is Miranda, my model. I tend to give all my crocheted toys as gifts. Miranda here was a present from my son, and she seems to be the only toy in my house that could feasibly wear a skirt. The others have too many tentacles or weapons, so little Miranda is my model of last resort. I've shared photos of a crocheted rabbit wearing a tutu, and I had a request for a tutorial, so today I'm going to show you how to make this style of short ruffled tutu so you can dress up your crocheted or shop-bought toys. When I make baby blankets, I like to also make a matching toy. This is a very easy skirt. You can make the waist to fit any toy, and I'll show you two options for the skirt length. You can definitely make this tutu for toys that are smaller than Miranda here, but it is a short skirt pattern. It'll look like a ruffled belt on large toys. With the yarn I use, and depending on the style of the toy, I tend to stick to toys that are less than 21 centimeters long, but you'll need to use your own judgment because if you use heavier yarn than me, your skirt will be longer than this one. I suggest you have the toy with you while you're crocheting the skirt so you can make sure it fits. In terms of yarn, I'm using this basic acrylic yarn. This is Australian 4-ply, which means it's between a number 1 and 2 weight yarn, similar to what you might call sock, fingering, baby or sport yarn. But you don't need to use a specific weight yarn. My preference is for this thinner yarn just because it provides a more delicate looking fabric, but I've seen this ruffling technique used with worsted weight yarns to create blanket borders, so the skirt will definitely work with thicker yarn. Just use the hook your yarn label recommends, and you'll need a pair of scissors and a big-eyed needle. Obviously there's not a lot of point in me giving you a pattern for a skirt that is a perfect fit for Miranda here. What you need is a way to make a skirt for the toy that's currently sitting in front of you. So the first step is to have a look at your toy. I'm going to measure my toy's waist to get an idea of how long the starting chain needs to be, but if you don't have a tape measure to hand, don't worry, this step isn't essential. So Miranda is about 8¼ inches or 21 centimeters around the waist, but much more importantly, her tummy is clearly bigger than both her head and her feet. You don't need to measure, but you do need to think about how you'll get the skirt onto your toy. This skirt pulls on. Some toys can be dressed from the feet up, with some you can pull the skirt down over the head. So the toy's tummy needs to be bigger than either the feet or the head or both. Check that one of those dressing options will work for your toy before you put too much effort into making the skirt. Start by putting a slip knot onto your hook and then making a starting chain. I know that I need a chain that's about 21 centimeters long. You'll need to do a little experimenting to find the right length chain for your toy. This pattern doesn't have a multiple, so whatever length fits around your toy will be fine. I've chained 39 and to me it's looking about right. I'll check it against my tape measure. If you don't have a tape measure to hand and you didn't measure your toy, just check it against the toy. There's a little bit of personal preference in how you want the skirt to fit. I don't want mine super tight fitting because the toys I make are usually played with pretty hard and I want the kids to be able to take the clothes on and off easily. However, crochet does stretch, so you may want to start off with the clothes a little tighter to allow for that stretching, or you might just prefer the tighter fit because it does actually look better and your toy might be more for display. When you're happy with the length of your starting chain, we're going to turn this chain into a circle by slip stitching to the first chain, which is the one with the slip knot at the end of it. Before slip stitching, make sure your chain is straight with no twists, and then slip stitch by inserting your hook just here, catching just one loop of the chain. There are 2 loops on the hook. Yarn over and pull through both loops. Now we have the circle that is the waist of the tutu. The first few rounds of the tutu are just single crochet. We'll start by working a single crochet into the first chain, which is the one we just slip stitched to, this one here. I'm just going to take my hook out so I can point and explain. When you look at this slip stitch join, do you see that there is a V on this side of it and there is also a V on this side, which is a little bit covered up? This whole area here counts as one stitch space. You will only work on one side of the join. I'll show you what I mean. First, chain 1 to get up to height. This chain 1 does not count as a stitch, it's just to get us up to the right height. And then single crochet into the V that is just a little obscured, that is immediately to the left. which is the chain that we slip stitched to when we created the circle. And single crochet in the next chain 2. Insert the hook into the chain, catching just one loop of it. Yarn over and pull up a loop. There are 2 loops on the hook. Yarn over and pull through both loops to single crochet. Continue putting 1 single crochet in each chain all the way around the circle. You'll have the same number of single crochets in this round as you had chains in your starting chain. So I started with a chain of 39 and I'll have 39 single crochets in round 1. If you're crocheting along with me, pause the video now and continue putting 1 single crochet in each chain and switch the video back on when you're ready to finish round 1. That was my 39th stitch, my last single crochet for round 1. If you're not super familiar with working in the round, you might be tempted to work an extra stitch in this V here. What I was trying to explain when I started this round, when I showed you where to place the first stitch, is that where we place that first single crochet and this empty V here, so this area between my thumbs, counts as just 1 stitch space. The slip stitch join that created the circle stacks 2 V's on top of each other, and we treat those 2 overlapped V's like they are 1 stitch and only work into one of them. I put a single crochet in that very first spot, which means I don't work into the last one. To finish the round, slip stitch to the first single crochet. This V is the chain 1 that got us up to height. This V is the top of the first single crochet. Insert the hook, yarn over and pull up a loop, pull that loop through the working loop. Before you go any further, check that this circle fits your toy. As I mentioned, I don't make the tutus super tight fitting to make it easy for kids to put them on and off, so I've got a bit of wiggle room. You can make the tutu tighter if you prefer. If your circle isn't a good fit, you'll need to unravel round 1, make the chain a little shorter or longer and redo round 1. For round 2, chain 1 to get up to height, and then starting in that first V, which is a little bit squished looking, the V immediately to the left of the chain 1, put the first single crochet. And then continue putting 1 single crochet in each stitch, so your stitch count for this round will be the same as for round 1 and the same as your starting chain. Be aware of where you place stitches at the beginning and end of the round. Remember that the slip stitch join lays 2 V's on top of each other, but those 2 V's are really only 1 stitch space. Don't add in an extra stitch at the end of your rounds or your stitch count will increase by 1 each round. You can work as many or as few rounds of single crochet as you like. If your toy is quite small, you might only want to work 2 rounds of single crochet and then start the ruffle. If it's a little larger, you might want to do even 6 or 7 rounds. That's going to depend on how thick your yarn is as well. I'm going to leave you to continue. At the end of this round, you'll slip stitch to the first single crochet, then repeat this round until the band is as thick as you'd like it to be, and then come back and I'll show you how to create the ruffles. I've decided 3 rounds is about right for this tutu. I'll show you how to create 2 different lengths of ruffle. Option 1 is a shorter ruffle created with double crochets. Start by chaining 2. This chain of 2 doesn't count as a stitch, it's just to get us up to the right height. Now we're going to work 6 double crochets in each stitch. For the first double crochet, yarn over, insert the hook into that first stitch, which is the slightly misshapen V just to the left of the chain 2. So I've got 2 loops on my hook back here and the top of the stitch. Yarn over and pull up a loop. There are 3 loops on the hook. Yarn over and pull through 2. There are 2 loops on the hook. Yarn over and pull through 2 to finish the double crochet. So at the moment I have a chain of 2 and I have a double crochet. I'm now going to work another 5 double crochets in the same spot. Yarn over, insert the hook into exactly the same spot that you worked that first double crochet and pull up a loop. There are 3 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through 2, 2 loops, yarn over and pull through 2 to finish. And do that again for a 3rd double crochet, and then a 4th double crochet, and then a 5th double crochet, and then a 6th double crochet, all in the same stitch space. So it's quite crammed, and at the moment I've got something that looks a little bit like a fan. I'm now going to pull that fan back and out of the way so I can locate the next empty stitch and work 6 double crochets in that empty stitch as well. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now that is really crammed in. I've got 6 double crochets in each stitch. Locate the next empty stitch and crochet the next group of 6 double crochets. Do this the whole way around the circle, 6 double crochets in each stitch. Initially it looks a bit like a hot mess, but as you do more of it, you'll start to see hints of that ruffled effect appear. Don't worry that the ruffles don't start out looking neat. When you finish the round, you'll be able to shift them around and get them sitting more nicely. It's a bit like a fidget toy. From this point, it's the same thing over and over, and whether you choose option 1 or option 2, you'll use the same method to finish the skirt. So I'm going to move on to demonstrating option 2, and then I'll show you how to finish your skirt off whichever length ruffle you decide to use. Option 2 is a slightly longer length ruffle created with triple crochets. This time we start with a chain of 3, so I'll add 1 to my chain of 2, yarn over twice, insert your hook into that first spot, the V just to the left of the chain 3, so I have 3 loops on my hook plus the top of that stitch. Yarn over and pull up a loop, there are 4 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through 2, there are 3 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through 2, there are 2 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through 2 to finish the stitch. So I have my first triple crochet and I have this chain of 3, which we're just going to ignore. I'll walk you through crocheting the second triple crochet in that first spot. Yarn over twice, insert the hook into that same stitch. There are 3 loops on my hook plus the top of the stitch. Yarn over and pull up a loop. There are 4 loops on the hook. Yarn over and pull through 2. There are 3 loops on the hook. Yarn over and pull through 2, there are 2 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through 2 to finish the second triple crochet. I need to put 4 more triple crochets in this stitch. It needs to have 6 triple crochets in it. That's 3, that's 4, that's 5, that's 6. Find the next empty stitch and put 6 triple crochets in it as well. Hopefully that makes sense. It is just a matter of putting 6 triple crochets into each stitch. You may find you need to push your stitches to the side so that you can find the stitch you need to work into. Whether you use option 1 or option 2, your stitch count for the ruffle round is 6 times your starting chain, but I have no intention of counting. And one of the reasons I love making this little skirt is that it's very forgiving. If you put 7 stitches into one of your ruffles, it's not going to be noticeably different from the other ruffles. And by the way, 6 double or triple crochets per stitch is just my preference. If you would like to experiment, you can see how ruffles with less stitches look. They are less pronounced. Or see what happens if you try to squish even more stitches in for an even rufflier look. Maybe you could also play around with colour. Try crocheting the waistband in one colour and the ruffle in a different colour. So that is enough on the ruffles. I'll move on and give you a quick rundown on finishing off. When I crochet the last couple of ruffles, I find it is helpful to fold back the first ruffle so I don't catch it with my hook. That was my last ruffle. This empty V here, it's the top of the slip stitch join from the last round of single crochet. I worked into the first stitch, so I leave this V empty. To finish off the skirt, you'll need to join to the first ruffle. You can either slip stitch to the first triple or double crochet, not this chain, to the top of the first actual stitch. Or I'll show you the method I prefer to use, which is an invisible join. As the name suggests, it's a joining technique that is less noticeable than a slip stitch. Whichever method you decide to use to join up the ruffle round, please remember you also need to weave in the tails. So to work an invisible join, I first cut my yarn and then I grab my needle. I slide the working loop out, so I'm not fastening off in any way, I'm just pulling that working loop so the tail slides through my stitch, and I'm done with a hook for now. I'll thread this tail onto my needle. Invisible joins are worked one stitch to the left of the stitch you would normally slip stitch to. So I'd normally be slip stitching here to the top of my first triple crochet. Instead, I go one stitch to the left. I insert the needle under both loops of the V at the top of the stitch, bringing the needle toward me. Now locate the last stitch you made, which is the last triple crochet. If you'd like to, you can follow the yarn back to find where it comes out of the center of the stitch and then insert your needle down into the middle of that V. With a triple crochet, I like to catch 2 loops of yarn on my needle. With a double crochet, you can do the same, or you can just catch the back loop of the V, not this second loop. And that is the invisible join. It has created a little V shape that looks much like the top of a crochet stitch. If you pull on it too hard, the V will get squished, so be a bit gentle. I do need to weave it in or it will just unravel. First, I take the tail back to the left and then I weave it in like any tail. I like to get the yarn down into the tunnel of stitches at the base of the groups of 6 triple or double crochets, and I go back and forth 3 times and then cut the yarn off really close. I'll also weave in the tail from the beginning of the tutu. I'll take it through the single crochet rounds and then weave it back and forth through the base of the triple crochets. And that is my tutu finished. Now I get to enjoy the fun of arranging the ruffles, getting them to sit right, and dressing my improbable little ape in this random blue frilly skirt. I'm sure that whatever you're making this little tutu for is going to look much more adorable. If you're on Instagram, tag me so I can admire your crochet, or email photos to me direct. My email address is on my channel page under the About tab. That way I can share your gorgeous crochet with my community. If you're looking for inspiration, you could head to my channel, to the community page, and browse some photos of projects made by other crocheters and by me to see if something catches your eye. Or if you're after a nice short crochet make, check out my playlist of quick projects on the left, or see how well YouTube knows you. It thinks you'll enjoy the video on the right. I'll see you next time. Until then, keep crocheting. With each project, we're adding a bit more warmth and beauty to the world.